Hi, morning everyone. Once again, good to be back up here. There were a couple of questions around expansion plans and dark store location. Couple of tidbits that we've got from the QuickCom platforms on dark store location. It makes a world of difference if the location of a dark store is on this side of the road versus the other side of the road. Because if you're on the wrong side of the road to where the demand density is, just taking U-turns on some of these crowded Indian cities can add 20 minutes to delivery time. So that is how precise one needs to be, how the platforms need to be on where their dark stores are located. So I think I won't spend much time on the importance of quick commerce, but just recapping the numbers once again. 2 years back, the channel was really very small. A year back, the channel was very small. Today, the channel we expect is close to 3-4 billion, close to about 8-9 billion of top line, and very clearly on track to be anywhere between 50-60 billion in the next 5 years, right? So that is really large. Now, our own business, and some of these numbers were referred to earlier today. So we used to do about, as a portfolio combined, we used to do close to 10 crores a month. That's about 120 crores of ARR. Till 2-3 months back, we are projecting that sometime this year, very soon in the next 6-7 months, we'll actually touch that number in a month, right? So that's a 10 to 12x top line growth in quick commerce across the portfolio. Right? So really a very large sort of opportunity. But just like we know, every large top line opportunity doesn't come without its fair and in some cases unfair share of challenges as well, right? In this case, what we think is, if you just look at how the businesses and how the brands need to be built on this channel, it has to be done very differently to how they were built on e-commerce channels, right? Starting with the way the organization is designed, to some of the capabilities one needs to build in-house, to how one generates demand for the brand and awareness for the brand, even before shoppers actually come onto the platform. Harsha spoke a little bit about how the supply chain needs to be designed. QuickCom platforms are saying, if I deliver to my customers many times a day in 5 to 10 minutes, why can't you service me many times a day? Now, brand supply chains are typically not built out like that. So there is a full supply chain redesign that needs to be done. And obviously, all of this has implications on what P&L, capital allocation, all of that for brands. And hence, just a lot of things to think through and proactively, structurally solve for as we go forward. So in this panel discussion, we will discuss exactly that, which is what are some of the opportunities we are seeing, what are some of the challenges we are seeing, and collectively, how do we sort of learn from each other and proactively solve those challenges. We have with us 4 of our founders who are, the common thread to all of them is basically 2 things. One is they've all, and their brands have all started seeing fantastic green shoots and successes on QuickCom in the last 3 to 6 months. And the other common thread is they all see the daily rough and tumble and not so easy part about dealing with the channel as well. And we're hoping that a combination of those 2 will lead to a good, rich discussion over the next 30-40 minutes. So can I have the AV, please?
Vanakkam, I am Anand, co-founder, and I lead the product development and the end-to-end operations at Sweet Karam Coffee.
Hi, I'm Nalini, co-founder and CEO, Sweet Karam Coffee.
We wanted to build a global South Indian snacking brand, taking the taste and tales of South India to the globe. On the taste, we wanted to take the regional flavors across the boundaries. On the tales, we wanted to glorify the culture, heritage, and more importantly, the history of all our traditional delicacies.
We have 2 cohorts of customers, I would say. Primary cohort would be South Indians, almost living across the country. They are looking out for authentic taste. They're looking for better for you ingredients. They want a good range of regional assortments that they're looking for. Whereas there is a good amount of South Indian diaspora living in the north as well as across the globe. Over there is a scarcity factor. They want the convenience of these products. They want these products to be quickly available, to be quickly accessible. So we are solving for that problem as well. for these cohort of customers. Interestingly, in the recent past, there is a third cohort that is emerging, and hence there is a cohort of core North Indian customers who are also wanting to try these authentic South Indian taste delicacies. So from the time Fireside came in, we've grown from 50 lakhs to almost a 5 crore business per month, so almost at a 60 crore ARR today.
Hi, we are Frubon, an exciting ice cream, milk and dairy products brand based out of Jaipur. Frubon was established by our father, Mr. D.D. Verma, who is a dairy technologist from National Dairy Research Institute, Karnal. Both Rohit and I are electrical engineers, and we were in comfortable, high-flying jobs. I was in Hong Kong, Rohit was in Bombay. Both of us left the corporate world and came back to Jaipur to join our father to build Frubon.
Innovation has always been an integral part of Frubon. We have an exciting range of pure milk-based creamy ice creams with very exciting flavors like banana caramel, chili guava, sitaful kulfi, to name a few. We also have a very strong portfolio of dairy products and very innovative. As an example, we have desi makhan in ceramic pots, we have high protein paneer, we have mixed berry lassi, and so much more innovative and exciting for all the new age millennials and customers.
This year, we are aiming to close the overall business at around 135 to 140 crores. At Frubon, our tagline is happiness served fresh. We are building Frubon with a vision to create value for all stakeholders across the supply chain, be it our farmers, employees, channel partners, consumers, the society and the environment.
Hi, I'm Meghna Narayan, the co-founder of Wholesome Foods.
Hi, I'm Shauravi and I'm a co-founder at Wholesome Foods.
We are changing the way the world eats, one kid at a time. To start with, we started our first brand was Slurrp Farm. Slurrp Farm makes all kinds of products for children, starting with toddler cereals, noodles, pasta, breakfast options like pancakes, dosas, crunches, snacks, things that kids need throughout the day. We only make products that we're happy to feed our own children, which means products with no maida, lots of multigrains like millets, lentils, legumes, no artificial preservatives or colors and flavors. Over the past few years, a lot of adults reached out to us and said, hey, can you make me a pancake? Can you make me a dosa? Can you make me a shake? Can you make me a noodle? That's higher protein, higher fiber, to meet my nutritional needs. Introducing brand Meele, something that we've launched over the past year in December of 2020. Around the time that we were doing about 50 to 60 lakhs of sales. Last month we did over 10 crores. So it's been great fun. At Wholesome Foods, we have 3 North Stars. The first is we only make positive nutritional products. The second is we use better for you grains, better for you and better for the planet and better for the farmer. And the third is a percentage of our revenue goes towards feeding programs at Akshay Pasta, something that we're very proud of.
Hi, I'm Sneh Jain.
And I'm Aditi Handa. We are the co-founders of The Baker's Dozen, India's largest artisan bakery brand. Our range of dairy breads, sourdoughs, cakes, cookies, etc. are available in more than 35 cities across India. We cater to the conscious Indian consumer who is looking for healthier while tasty alternatives to their daily bakery needs.
Whether it is a kid's favorite dark chocolate cookie, a family's favorite banana walnut cake, or a mother's favorite sliced bread, our products are on everybody's wish list.
Be it breakfast, afternoon snacking or post-dinner indulgence, more than 10 lakh products make their way to a consumer's kitchen every month.
We are one of the largest bakery partners for all quick commerce platforms such as Blinkit, Instamart, Zepto, and also for premium offline chains such as Nature's Basket.
Today, as per independent brand track studies, we are the second most well-known national bakery brand in India.
Today, we are a profitable 100 crore plus brand with a 5% EBITDA, having doubled in the last year itself.
We strongly believe that our product ethos of authentic ingredients known as teas, combined with the power of an omni-channel distribution network, can truly power the next big bakery brand for India.
Good to have all of you here. So let me start with a little bit of a non-serious question. Right? Let's go one by one in that order. So what, in your household, what is the most commonly shopped product on QuickCom? And you were not allowed to say Baker's dozen bread, you can't say Frubon ghee and so on. So what is like the most commonly shopped product on QuickCom?
Eggs. Okay. I think like every night there's suddenly a call from the kitchen or saying, you know, that what do you want in the morning? And we say omelets and there's no eggs. So what do you do? At night 10:30 or 11 o'clock, you order eggs. That's what's normal.
Okay. So let me add on to that question. So what is the most commonly shopped product and who is the trigger of that shopping occasion? Yeah.
For me, it's normally my child saying that she needs something for school the next day. So truly, I want to say that's how QuickCom started for us. It was that emergency, I need a pack of erasers for tomorrow morning, and it's 10 p.m. at night. And it has to be there before 7:15 in the morning, and that's, magic.
Nice.
I think it's a similar answer as It's basically eggs, butter, bread, milk, so on and so forth. But one particular instance I would like to highlight, it was 11 p.m. and my kid had to take a train to a different city to attend a competition, and he all of a sudden realized that I want a pen drive.
Pen drive?
Pen drive at 11 p.m. So we ordered on one of these platforms, got it in 10 minutes with a good discount, and that was an eye-opener for us.
Fantastic. You can't say banana chips by Sweet Karam Coffee.
Very similar. My daughter and me, we have a ritual of next day planning before the previous night. So 9:30 p.m. is where most of my orders goes. And I have to say here, I'm a huge consumer of Slurrp Farm's noodles because she loves the noodles. And the same thing of the vanilla cake of Baker's Dozen. So pretty much a lot of that goes under my consumption. So, and one part similar to what he mentioned was she needed printouts. Printouts, and I could now I can order and I can get printouts within 10 minutes.
Wow.
So
I think
pretty
Harsha
much needs to wants.
Yeah. So I think Harsha should have heard that, and that would have been a brief to his category managers immediately after going back, saying please start having these categories on QuickCom. So let's move on. As brands that have had all kinds of channels and customers, offline, modern trade, the likes of e-com earlier, now QuickCom. Snev, what has surprised you the most about QuickCom in the last 12 months?
Just the pace of the growth, the offtake in terms of the customer base that these platforms have been able to build, the pace of their execution. All kudos to Harsha and teams like Blinkit, Zepto, Instamart. I think the pace at which they've been able to match up to that demand, and it's not a metro phenomenon or a tier 1. We are seeing highest pace of growth in tier 2 cities.
Wow.
Right? And I understand the base difference will be there, but still we see that becoming very sizable. So I think just the pace across from back end to front end, and there will be teething issues, right? When you're growing that fast,
right?
Both from the brand side, from the platform side, there will be teething issues. But I think just that pace has literally blown away, I think, all of us.
Right. So Meghna, if you could also, along with what has positively sort of, surprised you, are there any things about the way the channel have grown that have not been positive surprises? Like things that you unexpectedly ran into problems with the channel?
So I think, and I think I can say this for all of us, we've all been surprised by the demand, right? I never thought we would be selling in the cities we are selling and the volume of sales in those cities. So just demand planning, both from their end, our end, getting that better, iterating better, has been a challenge. And as he says, I think the pace of growth has certainly not, it's been so amazing that it's been hard to catch up. I think the other thing that has been quite interesting, and we're seeing it now, and in fact at the Instamart session earlier today, there are regional plays, and they have actually you're doing this, you're watching your, sort of as the consumer is shifting, from e-com to e-com, because that's what it feels like. Some of that is happening. There's also this deep regional play that can be done. So with quick commerce, we can go and say, okay, we make toddler cereals, for example. There are certain products that sell better in certain states. So a banana powder, raw banana powder, would sell great in Kerala, not so much in Delhi. but we can only sell it in Delhi. So one of the things that they're able to do now is that. I feel like this is the magic of this data, right? There's so many ways in which we can cut this and build really sharply.
Right, right.
Actually, I would just like to add on to what Sneh said. It is not just about the pace. So the pace obviously has been fantastic. I think it is also a discovery that there were so many categories which were not present on e-commerce platforms, which now become relevant in the quick commerce world. And there were so many categories which were not even present in the organized retail beyond e-commerce in the past. So I'll give you an example. So in terms of categories such as the shorter shelf life categories, be it dairy, be it dahi, doodh, all of those did not make sense make too much sense in the e-commerce world.
Right.
But all of a sudden, quick commerce with that 10-minute delivery brings them to the forefront. Now this is something which becomes relevant. So that is something which is an obvious conclusion. However, beyond that, what we realized was working with these platforms, there were certain categories which we did not imagine existed. So to give you an example, there is something called khoya, which is used in Indian sweets, which is still largely unorganized. But now, being on the platform, and so there is, I think in our geography we are the only player, but the demand for khoya in a branded form has taken us by surprise. We never thought that khoya as a category existed. The consumption for khoya, the consumption for something like this is massive. Similarly, there is something called a makhan mishri, which is used in Janmashtami, which is basically sugar and butter. This again, by and large, is being sold in an unorganized way outside temples during that period. That again, on an online platform, was selling like hotcakes. There are so many multiple examples in other categories when we talk about the puja needs, that the grass dhoob, which is used. These categories never existed in the organized space, either on e-commerce or in the organized retail.
Right.
But quick commerce has brought in those categories which were never there.
Right, right. I'll come back to the questions between e-com and quick com, because that is something which should flow into the playbooks that we work with going forward. But Nalini, specifically, I want to ask you, given that you spoke about your consumer cohorts, and when we talk a lot about problem solving on the channel from a demand and supply point of view. If you had just a couple of lines of advice to people who are starting off their business on quick com, how would you tell them to proactively solve some of the problems that you're facing?
Sure. So number one, I think to proactively solve, the whole channel is much huge. I mean, it's just huge than what we could anticipate. Right. Just to give an example of our category where we play in just initially only in sweets and snacks, little did I imagine that it would be currently it is I'm talking about 3 months prior. It's about 1,500 crore ARR category, only sweets and snacks across these 3 platforms. And it is expected to be a 5,000 crore category. Munchies is one of the most penetrated after bread, butter, bread and eggs and all of that. So the sheer size of that is unimaginable. So I think the first proactive thing we need to be ready is your supply chain. Right. That's the one and only differentiator, which luckily we've understood little early on, that you get your back end sorted. And I was talking to one of the quick com leaders in the industry, and they were like, on quick commerce, supply chain is in minutes and not in days. So solve for your backend, and the quicker you're able to service your customers, the better would your growth be. So that would be the single most advice, that be ready to anticipate a growth which you would have never even anticipated. So solve your supply chain would be my single.
Right. Thank you very much.
I just add one thing: make friends with your category manager.
Right. So let's talk about the differences. Sorry.
Just adding one more thing on what surprised us, right, about quick commerce. So while a lot of this is actually, like, make no mistake, we are almost in a generational shift, right? Like, my mom used to go to an APMC to buy rice for the full year, right? Because she used to get it at the right price. Then she would store it. She would, you know, keep it in containers. Relatives used to come, take it from there, right? Then we moved, you know, more to like a, let's say an e-com or a big basket equivalent, next day delivery. You're still planning, right? But today, habits have been formed so deeply on instant gratification, right? It's as simple like today, whenever somebody sees a Netflix series, they will skip the intro. You know, you don't even want to wait for that 2 minutes because it's useless in a way, right? And the same thing is happening, like the habit of getting everything instantly, right from a charging wire to bread or anything else, right? I think that is getting ingrained so much that this is going to extend across categories.
Right. Or a pen drive for that matter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that fundamental consumer shift is happening and that's real.
Right.
And like Aman said, brands were born on marketplaces.
Right.
Today, I really think that many of us are born on quick commerce.
Yeah. So that's a great segue into my next question, which is if you look at marketplaces like Flipkart, Amazon, Myntra, we call them e-com, right? And now there is quick com, and obviously there are some e-com players that will also have quick com, and some e-com players that will not have quick com. I'm sure we will not have quick com players having e-com, but who knows where that goes. So just some changes, and we spoke about category availability, but what are some of the other changes that you guys see between how you do business with e-com and how you do business with quick com?
I can take
Fastest fingers first, yeah.
Okay. So I think firstly on e-commerce, the consumer really does read a lot more. So they would come and search for, a noodle. On quick commerce, they're in and out within, I don't know what the metric is, but it's shockingly quick. They've made it so fast, and so that's why people are doing multiple orders a day. So I think one is your brand ability to get discovered on the channel was more on e-commerce than on quick commerce. So actually, Harsha just said it. He's like, we are just one more point of sale. That's what you need to treat us as. You have to build your brand. That's, that doesn't go away. Right. So I think it's even more important now to sort of, figure out what is your brand story, making sure that's happening, because, that consumer shift has definitely happened.
Got it.
And I think the way, like I'm putting myself as a consumer, on e-commerce, typically it's a more planned purchase. We do like a weekly planning of what to buy, what not to buy, and it's a more, at least in my case, it's more of a weekly thing. But quick com, the consumer behavior, they need it today. They need it in minutes, right? So it's a more ad hoc, impulsive purchase, and categories like us, which typically fit in the impulse bracket, it's a must-win for today.
We were largely an offline brand. We missed the e-commerce party, and but the challenges we find in an offline business with respect to building that distribution network,
right?
Both in terms of the pace at which we can build that network, as well as the kind of parties you are dealing with in terms of professionalism, in terms of how they operate, is very different from what we are finding in quick commerce. So quick commerce, obviously, very professional parties, very easy to deal with in terms of setting the tone of the business, and obviously the pace is very different. So for us, it has been a very pleasant, positive change to our business. Ki jo the pace at which we were building over the last 5 years, all of a sudden that seems to change in the last 12 months on the back of these platforms.
Right, right.
See, actually, it's no coincidence that all of us are food brands. Food or grocery shopping was broken completely in the offline world. Right? So that experience, like if you go, one of the questions that was asked earlier as to why India and why not, why hasn't quick commerce worked anywhere else or taken off? That experience of going to a supermarket, doing your monthly purchase, that's a very enjoyable experience in other countries, right? People almost look forward to it. That's not the case in India. You don't want to go through the traffic. You don't want to go to that store. You don't have the aisle space.
Right.
So for that India 1 population, where do they go for this, right? And e-com hadn't solved that problem because that kind of delivery timeline does not work for food, right? I'm not going to order a bread or a cake or noodles and wait for 2 days for it to come, right? Or even earlier, right? I think that e-com hadn't solved that category. They had solved it beautifully for electronics, fashion, BPC, etc., right? And I think that use case just worked very well for quick com.
Right.
Absolutely. The way the grocery disruption has happened today on quick com is phenomenal to withstand, to witness, and we could not have imagined building this kind of a distribution in the past. So I'll talk about that in one of, hopefully one of the questions, but I think the whole experience of so many of us new age brands that are almost all of us have a common thread, which is we are bringing a better for you proposition.
Right.
We are building for the new India. And to witness the number of D2C brands with such better for you proposition evolve amidst the FMCG giants out there, which shows that customers are wanting for such kind of products.
Right.
And we get a fair chance to play the ground on quick commerce,
right.
Especially all of us coming from the grocery segment. So
right.
that's one.
Right. So Meghna, if you could just spend some time in teaching all of us on how you managed to get Slurrp Farm to such a high salience on some of the quick com platforms from a brand building point of view. Because what we know, what Harsha also spoke about, is that in quick com there is no endless aisle, there is no window shopping. Customers largely do tunnel shopping, which means salience of the brand before they come on to shop is very important, because that's when you get sort of that's when you're top of mind, people come in, shop and go out. So Slurrp Farm has done some great work in building brands on quick com, but outside quick com on quick com, right? So if you could just talk a little bit to us about how you manage that.
I think, so we saw that live and this play out for us. I don't think we built the brand on quick com firstly. Right. QuickCom gave us a window into many, many homes across, of course, the top cities, but then beyond. And as they're scaling, we are also discovering, the depths of how deep the brand really is. So it's, to be honest, it's like really one of the joys of the past year. But the brand, like I said, has to be built outside of the channel. So it was built online in many, obviously still on Instagram, on Facebook. We have a community of over 25,000 mothers. So all of that, there is no substitute for that, and that has to get done, both in the online world and in the offline world. So bringing mums together every year. We want to try and double that this year. I think those lessons from in some ways the big companies, we might be doing it in the offline, in the online world, but there is no substitute for reaching out to a consumer, them understanding your proposition, them then tasting the product, liking it, their child asking it for it again, and then telling another 10 mums. That is actually how this has been done, and I feel we will keep doing for the next decade at least.
Right. Fantastic.
If I can add on to that, I think the way we have tried to build the brand is both on the platform and off the platform. What we have seen is, again, we are a D2C first brand, so still D2C contributes a large portion of our revenue. We have seen that the spends that we do on meta and brand building has a direct reflection on quick commerce, to the point that we just checked with my marketing team that there are almost 10 lakh plus searches for sweet Karam coffee across all the 3 platforms is what we figured. So as what Meghna said, right? Like what the efforts that we are taking off the platform is also paying for us on the platform.
Right.
Just adding on to what both of them said, in our case, something like a dahi is a very trust-based category. Someone who has been using Amul or someone has been using a state cooperative for the dahi for the last 10 years, just because they see our ad would probably not move to a new brand. So we focus a lot on sampling. We try to sample dahi or even a small pouch of ghee, and we do that at a large scale, not just online, even as taste and trials in an offline world, and that seems to have worked well, because once someone has sampled and someone has seen the difference between the two dahis, then it becomes an easier convert.
Right. So Sneh, I think on similar lines, the categories that you play in and the categories that you're winning in, right, decisively winning in, those categories have a fair amount of clutter. There's a fair amount of mix of all kinds of brands. There are national brands, there are new age brands, and yet there is a secret sauce, right, that you have that is leading to success in the platform, right? So if you could just share some insights on what those secret sauces are. Not so secret anymore.
So I believe, I think we have followed 3 principles, honestly, for quick com. One is a very, very sharp assortment. See, quick commerce is almost the 80-20 rule version of e-com. Right? You need those 20% SKUs that will give you 80% sales. You can't go in for any brand who's starting on quick commerce. First of all, the category managers themselves will not take it. And secondly, you can't go and say that I will launch 20 SKUs across 4 categories and make all of them heroes, right? So I think one is, if you need to be very sharp with your assortment, take your hero products. E-com can still have a tail, right? Quick com cannot afford a tail.
Right.
For a brand at least. So that's one. Second is very targeted visibility, right? I think Meghna pointed out that it's a very low attention span platform. I think the end-to-end customer journey is less than 2 minutes or something, which includes adding to cart, paying, and so the amount of time that the customer is spending on your product is in seconds. Now, in that, can your tile be, it's in the details, right? Can your tile artwork be something which suddenly makes them stop from scrolling, right? Or, or your name or your USP has to really stand out. Right, we were having a discussion earlier in the morning, and I think Instamart folks told you, like, can we make the USP bigger? Now, that might not be on the real pack, but on the photo that you're selling on the app, right? So, and how do you run ad campaigns which are very targeted to your cohorts? So, for example, what has worked for us, well for us is anybody who buys eggs, I want to show them bread. It's a natural extension to that, right? Recently, we came upon something where for an ice cream, we started targeting our cakes, right? And that's worked great. Like one more thing was, so we do like a butter garlic toast, which is more of a snacking item. That's working very well with ice because it is used as a chakna. Right? Now, these use cases, you try, different things, but you need to be nimble enough and fast enough to do that. So your visibility has to be very, very targeted. And the third is, again, see, similarly, but targeted discounting. Now, you can't say I will not be discounting at all. I think there will be some, but how can you do it only to, for example, can you do it only to a new to brand customer?
Right.
Right? So you control your burn as a brand. You are still profitable on the channel, but for that customer who's on the fence, because today they are used to buying maybe a 70 rupee cake, and I'm giving a 150 rupee cake. Now, how do I nudge that customer to try me once, to try me twice, and then I'm convinced obviously your innate confidence in your product should be there, that you'll get the repeats and you'll get your retention.
Right.
But if you can figure out your assortment, visibility, and discounts, I think gradually then the scale starts coming in.
Just one more thing on, I feel like all of these 3 sort of players, right, are in it to win it. So they are all growing at, Zepto showed us some numbers yesterday, which I was like, wow, I don't even know how to multiply that quick. And so they're very, very aggressive. And if you can hang on to their sort of coattails in some ways, and we did a campaign with Zepto for Children's Day. So November, in November last year, we had just launched a noodle. It was a collaborative ad that we did with Zepto. For them, they wanted new downloads. For us, we just wanted sort of more brand outreach, to whether new or, because, we have a lot more headroom than they do. And our sort of daily rate of sale went up by 30% in in the next sort of 3 days of launch of that thing, and then has stayed.
Right.
So I think this is, they are all trying to grow quickly, and so really the opportunity for all of us is to look and see, how can we partner with them on that journey.
So that's a great, sorry, you were adding on?
No, just to add on what Sneh said, I think spot on, he covered most of the points. But I think one thing that has helped us is we do something called as a quick commerce listening. What I mean by that is everyday great execution is something that matters really, really a lot. Like, I don't look at sale numbers every day, but I look at my availability numbers every day. So I think building that team and that cadence becomes extremely critical, so that you know this city is going down today because of this factor, and then you have your CAMs reaching out to the category guys and you know, pushing that nudge every day. I think that is the single most, one of the single most factor.
Right. So that's a great segue to the next question. It's open for all of you because it's a super relevant question. Like, organizationally, how do you design for this channel? What is the right sort of org structure? What are the right kind of capabilities that you need to build in-house, knowing now that the channel will, in the next 5 years, you know, go from 5-10 billion today to like 40, 50, 60 billion in the next 5 years. So what kind of org structures do you think one needs that can partner, to your point, partner with quick commerce platforms to get those insights about, you know, the eggs will sell well with bread and create those activations and so on?
Sure. So I think with respect to the brand awareness and visibility, that is something where the org structure would differ and one needs to build. But when we talk about fundamentally whether there is a difference in terms of the consumer who is consuming quick commerce versus a traditional retail, I think those fundamentals are still the same. You still need a very good product quality.
Of course.
While awareness and visibility can give you the first trial, you cannot compromise in terms of quality. In terms of innovation, again, that is something which actually has become a very short shelf life innovation. Things, you come up with a new product, 2 months later someone else would copy it. So to that extent, at least that part of the organization which relates to manufacturing, which relates to supply chain, those are still the same old school. You still need those pillars. But then with respect to having a dialogue with the platforms, having that visibility awareness, I think you need to develop that capability. All of us, we need to do that. So it could be in the form of having specific CAMs who are talking to the category managers, who are discussing which are the white spaces. And to that extent, I think all credit to all the platforms. The dialogues they have with the teams are absolutely fantastic with respect to pushing all of us in terms of product innovation. Getting the insights with respect to where to spend, how to spend. I think all of that is something which is a new area in the organization to develop. But the basic fundamentals would still be the same with respect to the product and the supply chain.
I think so. One for us, what has worked is, so one, your sales team has to be dedicated to not only quick commerce but actually at a platform level. Right? You need an Instamart guy, you need a Zepto guy, you need a Blinkit guy. So, and that cannot be common between e-com and quick com, because again, the kind of sales strategies and the thought process that person needs to bring to the table is different.
Very different.
But actually where I think a lot of brands also end up, underutilizing in a way is you have to start building your supply chain capabilities accordingly. Right? Quick commerce is not, if you get a PO today, it is almost useless if you serve it after 7 days.
Right.
Right? Because you have lost that sale. Right? Obviously, see, we are also in a very perishable product category, so we have been used to a very quick supply chain. But you have to build your warehousing, your partnerships at the back end, so that today you get an order, tomorrow it has to be delivered. And that's where the availability numbers, kind of start ranking up. Right? So it's not only front end, back end, how can you kind of move your machine in a way, and that's where a lot of the e-com players or e-com first or even the legacy players find that a bit difficult, right? And not only from a time to delivery, but even things like pack sizes, right? Like quick commerce might want you to deliver in a certain pack size, which they can then transfer to a particular dark store easily, right? So can you then pack sizes, product assortments, right? Do you want to do, today morning, Instamart, for example, in their session, they had said that, like now they sell, like a 4 kg tub of ice cream, for example. Right? Now that, somebody thought of that, somebody said a manufacturer to try it out and it's working well. A 4 kg tub of ice cream. Now that would have been made specifically for quick commerce, right?
Actually, that's very common in the offline. 4 kg it works, but it works only with caterers.
Only with caterers.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think two capabilities that would be very, very important would be The agility that the brand has from an innovation perspective. So, for example, we were at Blinkit, in Jan, and they had requested for a particular product. From the time they had requested to the time that we are launching, it's about 1.5 months, or probably even lesser. So, for us, especially in a category like us, there are not. If we don't serve, then there's somebody else on the table who might grab it. So I think the time to innovation from the time they give the request to the time we fulfill becomes extremely critical in our case now. And that too, I spoke about how quick commerce is seasonality in minutes. So now with IPL season coming in, Munchies is a very big focus for them as well. So we have to capitalize on that time and launch the products. Right. So that is going to be one capability of the brands to be built. The second thing in line with what Sneh was saying is something that we track very closely is OTIF. 24 hours OTIF is a key metric that we take and chase. How much can I service within 24 hours in full? Yesterday there was mention about fill rates. Right. I think maintaining a greater than 90% fill rate within 24 hours is a key metric that brands will have to track. There's no point in servicing after a week.
Right, right.
Just one small thing to add. Everything is quick on quick commerce, which means you're growing quickly. You might have a big target for the year, but the world is shifting every quarter under their feet. So we make plans for the year, and then we go and we sort of rework them every quarter. And then that has implications on your sales guys, that has implications on your ops team. They don't give you the same days of cover that Amazon and Big Basket used to give you. So all of that has to, broadly be quicker.
Right, right, right. So this question again for all of you, and this is, of course, belling the cat or talking about the elephant in the room, right? So obviously all the growth stories and the top line potential is phenomenal. It comes at a cost. Very often it is a cost which on the face of it seems quite high. There is commission, there is ad revenue, there is supply chain cost. In some cases there could be added supply chain cost because the supply chain is different. So obviously as the channel keeps scaling, it is very, very important to also keep fixing levers of profitability, right? So two questions here. The first is now in hindsight, with the wisdom of hindsight, what are some of the areas where you spent money last year, which actually you realize now is money not well spent and hence can be avoided going forward? That's one. And secondly, what are some of the other tips that you have for brands who build out their business in this channel to actually build businesses that are also profitable? All yours.
Okay, so mistakes first.
Yeah.
What we did wrong. So I think I touched upon this earlier. So we went in with a much bigger assortment. Now what that does is, see, you have pressure now to grow each and every product because there are certain guardrails that the partner will have. That I want to sell 1 unit per day per pod. Right now, what then you do is you take your marketing budget and you split it across all the products. Now all of them have got suboptimal budgets. Right? So then your visibility and then that entire cycle is not working for all of them. The products that could have done much better, you're actually underserving them. Right. And you're wasting money on the products that... so first mistake that we did was we went in with a much wider, thankfully out of, I think, compulsion, both from platform and from our side, when we started moving towards profitability, was that we cut down on the assortment. And the second thing, I think, see the big chunk of spend, right? See, there will be commissions, there will be supply chain costs. Honestly, and they can add to this, I don't think that's significantly different than what you would get from other channels. It's not that offline channel is much cheaper from a commission point of view or from a platform margin point of view. At least for new age brands, it's not that case, right? Right? Because we need to go that extra step in offline also to convince the retailer to keep our product. But where the main cost comes in is on the marketing part. Right? Now, again, can you make the marketing, like earlier, we used to do common campaigns across all cities. So there would be one campaign, let's say on a banana bread, which would have a budget, and we would keep it open to all the cities on an Instamart. Now what would happen is a Bombay or a Bangalore, by sheer volume, would take up more of that budget, but a Hyderabad where I wanted to grow much more would not get that budget. All right. So again, and Bombay and Bangalore, maybe I didn't need that much because the brand salience was already there. So last almost a year, what we have been doing is we literally now have city level, SKU level campaigns. Now that might mean that you have 500 campaigns to manage,
right?
Right, but your optimization on your marketing spend becomes so much better, and that's where profitability comes in from, right? We have seen that journey. Today, we are profitable across all the platforms, and that's come by putting constraints on the marketing budgets also. The innovation does not happen, without constraint. Innovation anybody can do, right? How can you solve it when you put a constraint saying, okay, this is the cap. This is how I want it split, and then making it public to the entire org that this is the P&L that we are tracking.
Right. So sharp shooting is one clearly, and the second is hero SKUs as compared to having a long tail of SKUs. Yeah, thank you.
I think I agree with Sneh with respect to the overall margins in different channels. Broadly, even in our categories, it's similar, so there's not much of a difference. The difference comes in the marketing part. There again, one thing which we realized during our journey was that by the time a consumer comes to the platform, it's too late. He or she has already made a decision that this is the brand and this is the product that they'll be buying. So to the extent there is a traffic being diverted from a Facebook or from a different platform to Blinkit, that works better. Having said that, I think all the platforms, everything is evolving pretty quickly. So it is important to act quickly and to make mistakes. The more mistakes we make, the faster the learning curve is. We have made numerous mistakes, but we continue to make different mistakes. But I think that's the only way to learn because everything is evolving.
Right.
And that would be one advice, that let's not shy away from making mistakes and trying different ways of experimenting, different ways of how to get that consumer.
Thank you.
I think the way it has worked for us, again, from experience, is numerous mistakes. But what we've, maybe we started investing higher, and then because ours is also a very high repeat category, we have developed our own mechanisms of tracking our repeats rate. Platforms, unfortunately, we don't get a direct repeat rate data, but we have developed our own mechanisms of tracking, and over the period, our ROAS has significantly improved. So I think for a category like us, I am now optimizing for logistics. Because ours is more volumetric when it comes to snacks. So I think one key profitability lever that we are trying to balance out is how can I service closer to some of these mother warehouses? How can I make my production closer to some of these warehouses? So I think logistics for us at least has been a key lever. Marketing gets sort of optimized over time, has at least been our experience. So we have started setting our P&L guardrails at a CM1, CM2 level, at a CM3 level and at a EBITDA level. So even our discussions every month with the category managers are within what my guardrails provides. So there is deep simulations that goes at every month to determine what is that maximum allowable budget. While you're growing, it's fantastic, but it also has to be a sustained growth. That's a key focus.
I was going to say, we didn't make any mistakes. Just kidding. No, to be honest, demand planning was a nightmare. We got it awfully wrong in the beginning. Not like it's perfect now, but we now have at least sort of 18 months of data to help with that. The other thing that we found was on some of the marketing assets, just because the consumer is just not hanging around on the platform, it was not worth spending on.
Right.
And we were doing it because we were children of the e-commerce sort of generation. And there is, like I said, there's not much education happening on the platform.
Right.
So unless you're doing something very unique, don't do it.
Right. So I think to be very obsessively looking at ROI on marketing spends, I think that clearly is an area where there is headroom to optimize on cost, which obviously then flows right back into the P&L. Yeah. Thank you.
The only thing is, no matter what demand planning we do, somewhere it breaks every month, I believe.
Just one small point in the marketing spend. I think beyond the monthly planning with the platforms in terms of this is where we want to spend, I think it's important, this is again in hindsight and in retrospect, to have a longer strategic discussion with the platforms. Where do we see our brand 2 to 3 years down the line with that particular brand before we get into any of the demand, any of the spends, I think that broad discussion as step one,
right,
with the right people is very critical to set the right tone.
Thank you. So we can go on and on, but I'd like to give the audience also a chance to ask some questions. So we can take audience Q&A now, and if you could just pass the mics around to people asking the question. Yes, please.
Hello. Yeah, hi, this is Rahul from All Cargo Family Office. This question is to all of you all, if each of you all can answer that. So I just want to know, what was your best selling product last year, and what was the one which did not get sold as expected, and what were the reasons for that?
So ours was actually two I have to choose, but Madras mixture and peanut chikki was our, we could not imagine that, so we produce in one of the most authentic areas from Tamil Nadu, and literally the scalability of that product it was such a challenge because the demand was so high and immediately. So these were two key products of ours that got sold off really well. What didn't work, I would say, is we try some crazy innovations, some very unique flavors, blending with products like, for example, tapioca chips. The classic versions do really well, but blending some unique flavors, which is not very familiar for the audience, sometimes it takes a lot of investment and awareness to push that product. So we've had that experience.
For us, the answer for both the best and the worst in the same category. So our best selling SKU was a 1 kg dahi tub. So now it's a very standard, boring, non-innovative product, and we are competing with Amul and Mother Dairy. The reason it worked was because the inherent product per se, it's not just ki doodh liya damaya, it's a lot goes into making a dahi. Whether you use cow milk or buffalo milk as a starting point, what culture you use, what are the incubation conditions for how long, and then where do you move it, post that to a blast room for how long, and then what is the fat and SNF content in that dahi, in that plain boring dahi, is what differentiated our product from everyone else in the market, including the big brands, and that made it work. So the consumer, whoever tried it once, they immediately converted to, so that worked well. The product which did not work well was a 100-gram ceramic dahi. So the product was the same, but the packing was different. This was 1 kg, this was 100 gram, but because of that ceramic pot, the cost of that product went up, and owing to that and the fact that 100 gram hai, there are other options in the form of plastic cups or cheaper options available, it did not fly with the consumers that we were targeting. So the answer was the same category, the same product, but different packaging.
So ours was the toddler cereal. We have a strawberry cereal, which sort of has been a winner for us, and that was no different on the platform. Our banana choco chip pancake, those were the two I would say that really stood out. Except in mango season, where the mango cereal will do better, but other than that, I'd say these two. The ones that didn't do well are the ones we are also discontinuing. We sell a snack, which is, actually a lot of Nalini's problems come from she's shipping air all over the country and with an extruded snack. So we decided to discontinue 3 of them based on just this. It was not worth putting marketing dollars behind a category that was going to take, a lot of sort of also air cost to transport.
So for us, best-selling products, so are both actually our banana walnut cake and our range of sourdoughs. I think we have been amazed by how much sourdough has picked up on these platforms. In value, it's now actually higher than our sliced bread for us. So that has worked very well for us. What did not work well? So I think we got too innovative when we launched Rusk. We tried to change the shape factor of it and tried to make it more smaller, like bite-sized Rusk. And I think, one of the big mistakes, we forgot that the customer uses Rusk to dip it in tea. Right? A fundamental error from our side, and that did not work, obviously. So that we discontinued immediately. But those are one of the mistakes that happens.
I think we have one more question between us and the lunch break.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Hey.
Yes, Jay.
Yeah. Hey, a question on how your ad spends have shifted over the last year plus. Can you give a sense of I don't know if you want to share the information, but as a percentage of your top line, what kind of ad spends are you doing now? And is the mix between brand versus performance, and within performance, the share of that ad spend going towards top of the funnel properties like Google and other places versus horizontal commerce versus quick commerce? How has it shifted over the last year to year and a half?
Okay, so see, for us, we don't sell from our website. So for us, we really do not do much of off-app digital marketing. We'll do a bit of it, but we are actually very focused on selling on the platforms. And we want to target those people who are already on the platform. So the majority share goes there. Has it increased over the last 1 year? Yes, it has. Right, and both in absolute and percentage, but that's more an outcome of a lot of the other cost efficiencies that we got in, right? So while ensuring that we are still profitable, the idea was to obviously then reinvest that money to grow the brand. So we consciously added on to the marketing budget, but that was by bringing in cost efficiencies everywhere else. But it's almost 90% or 95% on app for us.
So I would say we spend almost sort of 20 on brand marketing. So that's a big chunk of our spends. And the rest goes towards channel. But we do a fair bit of brand marketing. Obviously, what was 20 last year, the number hasn't moved drastically. So we half this year.
So for us, it is vastly shifted. I mean, it's barely been in the last, so much growth has come only in the last 7-8 months for us, because we are a little late to the quick commerce party, but not too late. But so for us, it has still shifted over the last 8 months, from moving from only performance on the platform to the brand side, to the brand side. But for us, D2C is also a big contributor. So, we see a significant amount of that brand marketing that we invest on D2C to be reflecting within quick commerce as well. So that's how our experience has been.
I would just say we have just started spending. We were an offline brand. Our spend 2 years back was close to zero. Now, with quick commerce still being a very small part of our overall portfolio, we have started spending. And it is a meaningful spend versus what we were doing 2 years back. On each of these platforms, it's both an ad spend as well as a marketing spend. And that's a conscious choice, because we are practically competing in a very tough category with brands who have been here for more than 20 years. So the only way for us to actually generate that first trial is both a mix of that ad spend, marketing, sampling, and therefore we are very focused on generating that first trial, at least in the last 12 months.
Just to one point on this, right? Marketing percentage also, it depends on the stage of the brand on the platform. In terms of the scale that you are, like from it's a classic that a 0 to 10 or 0 to 100 journey, you might over-index on performance marketing, because you're just trying to get a share from the existing customer base on that. But when you start getting market leading share, like for example, for us now in cakes, we are in a way the market leaders on some of these platforms. Now over there, we need to now start building that category. Right? How do we grow the category along with us, that we'll also grow. So there it might lead to more off-app, Meta, Facebook, or whatever, right? Those kind of activations, offline activations to grow the consumption and the category.
Completely agree. Absolutely.
Cool. Sneh, Meghna, Rahul, Nalini, thank you very much for sharing your insights, sharing your learnings. Thank you very much, and wish all of you all the best for continued success on quick commerce and off quick commerce as well. Thank you very much. Thank you everyone for being a very patient audience.